Hello, and welcome to the Independence Day broadcast of the Redwood Real Estate Report. The Redwood Real Estate Report is brought to you by Larson Home Loans, Hyperion Humboldt Realty, and Ben Larson Show Productions. Coming to you from the Gross Building in Old Town, Eureka, I'm Ben Larson.
And I'm Annalise von Borstel with Hyperion Humboldt Realty.
You can find the Redwood Real Estate Report on Podbean and YouTube. Search for The Ben Larson Show to find all of our latest content. You can also search for the Redwood Real Estate Report, and it should come up on YouTube for you. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button on the channel to get all the latest content. Kicking off the month, we'll have our market keys of the month. Annalise, you want to kick it off for us?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So a lot going on in June this year. Some of my biggest takeaways from last month were total sales in June were up nearly 40% from last June, and They're up 12% year to date. So say what you will about interest rates and the high cost of homes, but buyers are out there, buyers are buying. Most of these sales were in the $300,000 to $400,000 range, which is keeping the median sale price down, but less than about 1% year to date for the median home price. But sales are also up in the range over $1 million. So the average sale price is actually up about 3.25%. Inventory still on the rise in Humboldt, up 16% from last June, but year to date, inventory is up just 12%, and since total sales are also up about 12%, that may be considered pretty stable to some.
Okay.
And in fact, the absorption rate for 2025 year to date is 5.62 months. And that's almost exactly where we would want to be considered a balanced market. Remember, a balanced market is between 5 to 6 months worth of inventory.
Nice, and we haven't been there for a few years, so that's
Right.
that's a good sign. It's for buyers.
Yeah, I mean, it's considered a balanced, stable market, not a buyer's market, not a seller's market. We're used to having a seller's market, so I think the conversations we're having out in the field is a little bit of concern coming from sellers with how long their properties are on the market for and the price drops that are happening. So it feels a little unstable, but in fact, this is a balanced market. So
More of a return to a norm.
yes, yeah. So we're halfway through the year and 5.62 months worth of inventory. Next month, we'll have the Q2 stats for all of California. They're a little bit delayed, so they won't be released until mid-July. But it will be interesting to compare Q2 in Humboldt with the rest of the state to see how they're doing. Yeah, median home prices in Humboldt. Humboldt altogether, the median home price year to date is $420,950. In Eureka, $402,000. Arcata, $522,000, McKinleyville, $515,000, and Fortuna, $430,000. For June, 3 of those 4 major markets are showing median home prices that are below the year-to-date median home price. But in Eureka and Humboldt as a whole, the median home price for June is above what the year-to-date is, so that could be a trend.
Okay.
Of course, Eureka does hold most of the inventory for Humboldt County on residential sales. There were 121 sales in all of Humboldt for last month, and 39 of those sales were in Eureka, so that represents 32% of the entire market share. In Arcata, there were 13 sales, that's 11%. McKinleyville, 12 sales at 10% of market share. And in Fortuna, there were 11 sales at 9% of the market share. So those are my keys for the month, but there's a lot of numbers that I would love to talk more about. So if you're interested in hearing about something specific or a certain area, put it in the comments, give me a call. I'd love to chat with you a little bit more about what these numbers could imply for your unique situation.
Thank you so much, Annalise. Something I wanted to bring up. Didn't Hyperion Humboldt Realty have something to brag about? Get some bragging rights here recently?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Time Standard Reader's Choice Award.
Thanks for bringing that up, Ben. Yeah, very exciting considering this is our first year in business, but Hyperion Humboldt Realty was selected by the readers of the Time Standard for Best Real Estate Office and Best Real Estate Team, which I wouldn't argue with. We have a pretty excellent team over there with Christy Mast, Jennerino Moulton, and Danielle Buckingham, alongside myself, Annalise von Borstel, best real estate team in Humboldt County. So yeah, if you're a real estate agent in Humboldt County or thinking about being one and want to talk to Hyperion about what we have to offer our team, I'd love an opportunity to sit down with you.
I always enjoy any opportunity I get to work with with anyone on your team. Yeah, and congratulations.
Thank you.
And many more.
And thank you for your votes and support.
All right. So with that, thanks again, Annalise. We'll get into my market keys of the month. We'll kick it off with my month-over-month rate comparison, as I normally do. The month kicked off with an average 30-year mortgage rate of 6.96%. That was on June 3rd, compared to 6.83 last month on 5/1. Then we hit our monthly high of June at 6.97 on 6/6. Compare that to the monthly high of May at 7.08, and that happened on May 21st. So now for the month of June, the low was 6.67 on June 30th. Compare that to the low for the month of May of 6.83 on May 1st. So the low of the month of May was the first day of the month. The low of the month of June was on the last day of the month. So that's a good trend. We like to see the rates declining over the course of the month, not inclining as we saw in May. So we're going in the right direction. Today's rate, since we're now July 4th, the Independence Day, the rates sit at 6.75. We saw a slight uptick, and I'll get into that in a second. So a declining rate trend overall for the month of June, and a slight uptick so far this month in July. Overall, some positive news on the rate front, which we haven't had for a while. But if you look at the big picture, for the month of June, we closed out at a 3-month low. So going in the right direction once again. My second market key of the month, I'm going to break down rates a little bit further and talk about what goes into those numbers. So I'm going to use my non-existent crystal ball to predict the future. My succulent crystal ball. With rates on a downward trend through the month of June, we saw a small increase so far in July. This can be attributed to the jobs report that came out July 2nd. The unemployment rate was 4.2, and experts expected that number to increase to 4.3, but in fact, we saw a decrease from 4.2 to 4.1. So that may seem like a very small, almost trivial number, but it affects markets such as the bond market, which have a direct impact on mortgage rates because they compete on the secondary market via investment vehicles for investors. It also affects whether the Fed can begin to lower rates. The big unknown here is the impact that tariffs are having on the economy. If unemployment goes up, then that's an early indicator that inflation will come down, which allows the Fed to lower rates. That's the big thing that will allow Fed to lower the rates is inflation coming down or, being stable, secure. Tariffs are being viewed by many experts as the most likely cause to drive these numbers right now because they're having a direct impact on the economy. Finally, I have a guideline update that took place in early 2025, but I want to turn back the clock and talk about that because I think it's something not a lot of people are aware of, and it may have been something that discouraged buyers or reduced buyers' purchase power in the past. And that is student loan debt. Mm-hmm. So historically, you typically had to use 0.5% or 1%, depending on if you're going Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, of the total balance owed. That's a huge debt load for a lot of people out there. As of July 11th, Fannie Mae will now accept any documented payment amount that comes from an income-based repayment plan, an IBR, they call it. So if your IBR shows 0, we can use 0 for your monthly obligation on your student loan debt. That can have a huge impact on your purchasing power. Reducing debt is a dollar for dollar increase in your purchasing power. Increasing income is a 50% increase. So reducing debt adds to your purchase power more than increasing your income.
Interesting.
We don't have to get into the details of that, but reducing debt is the best way to increase your purchasing power, your monthly obligations. So if you've had trouble in the past with debt-to-income ratios being affected by student loan debt, reach out to me at Larson Home Loans. I can give you an updated qualification and show you how to maximize your purchasing power with these new guidelines. With Cal Poly Humboldt, and many recent grads living in the area. This comes up so often that if you've had issues, revisit it. This brings us to our community updates.
Quick side note before
Okay.
we get into the community updates, I have
Yeah.
a question for you. We talked about it a little bit last month about the fact that we can't see the statistics for loan applications in Humboldt.
Right.
But anecdotally, from your experience in June, have you seen an uptick in applications for purchases?
I would say yes. There's been more activity. The phone has been busier. There seems like there's been more offers going out, things like that. So yeah, I've seen there's been a definite uptick in activity in the month of June. Normally we see it earlier in the year, but I think we're starting to see it a little bit later this year. But it's coming. It is noticeable.
That's good. I just keep circling back to the fact that sales were up 40% in June compared with last June, and that feels really good from what we've been seeing in the previous months this year. So hoping we're going to see more of that this month.
Absolutely.
So yeah, community events. What have you got?
Well, it's summertime, and in Humboldt County, that means tourism, that means good weather, warmer weather, the sun's been out, so a lot's going on. We'll kick it off with Friday Night Market. I'll hit on that. One of the premier events in Humboldt County. It's grown to be over the last several years. There's live music, there's multiple stages, there's food vendors, there's arts and crafts, local vendors. It's a really fun time, family-friendly. It goes on from 5 to 8:30. They kind of push it out. The fun keeps rolling.
Just a side note that dogs are no longer allowed at the Friday night
that's
market.
right. There was an unfortunate event, and they had to shut that down. But, we love our dogs, and I know a lot of people do, and that is a tough pill to swallow. But just remember, keep those dogs under control.
Right. Well, I won't bring Hans. I do respect the rule, but Hans really enjoyed the Friday night market.
Yeah,
So
well, he's such a sweet boy, too.
Well,
so.
It's I understand the rule, so I'll accept it.
No more Hans. But you can still get tasty tiger food. Get some Thai food.
Well, that's what we're there for anyways.
Yeah.
Right?
Our food booth, me and my ladies' food booth has been doing really well. I've been selling it every week.
That mango sticky rice.
Get yourself some mango sticky rice.
Yeah.
The end of the month, we have the Fortuna Redwood Auto Expo on July 25th through 27th. There's lots of hot rods, classic cars. There's a burnout competition on Sunday the 27th. So check that out at their website, redwoodautoexpo.com, for the details. And Annalise, what events do you have coming up for us?
Well, I mean, there's so much, like you said, going on. Farmers Market is in full swing. The Old Town Farmers Market just opened up, so you can go to Farmers Market. At least these are the three that stand out to me. In Old Town on Tuesdays, in Henderson Center on Thursdays, and then, of course, the Saturday Arcadis Farmers Market is the big one. Crabs Baseball is in full swing, and the Summer Music Series at the Botanical Gardens is also happening. On July 12th, Bigfoot Days in Willow Creek, a very Humboldt celebration. If you are out hunting for Bigfoot or just Bigfoot curious, that would be the place to check out. Fortuna Rodeo, surprised you didn't mention that one, Ben. Fortuna Rodeo 7 is July 12th through the 20th. Lots of festivities around that, including a chili cook-off.
That's a must-see event if you've never been. Have you ever been to they do ATV balloon popping race? They used to. I don't know if they're going to do it anymore, but they have a lot of unique, fun events that go on at the Fortuna Rodeo.
I would say Fortuna knows how to rodeo.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And then heading up north, the Humboldt Folklife Festivals at Blue Lake is this month, July 22nd through the 26th. This is a music festival. There'll be vendors, good community fun, and this is their 45th year. Wow. Roll on the Mattole, so down to Soham on July 26th. The Roll on the Mattole is a music festival, and it's a fundraiser for the Honeydew Volunteer Fire Department. So in addition to music, they're also going to have some activities and the Wildland Firefighter Challenge, which sounds like a good time.
That's a really fun event. I've done it. I've actually won the bocce ball tournament they host every year. It was a long time ago, but there's lots of fun events, lots of things to do, and and for a good cause, fundraiser for the fire department.
And then in Arcata on July 27th is the Ferry Festival.
So if hot rod burnouts aren't your thing on July 27th, you can head to Arcata for the Ferry Festival.
There you go. Yeah.
Right.
So if you have other community events, make sure to put them in the comments. And then looking into August, if you want us to mention your event, just put it in the comments or give us a call.
Lisa, do you have a listing of the month for us?
I do have a listing of the month.
All
it is 7222 Duty Ridge Road, in Eddersburg, so it's a southern Humboldt property. It's nearly 300 acres,
Wow.
3 separate parcels, and 3 cabins that are in great condition, with stunning views of the King Range Wilderness and Horse Mountain. It's got solar, it's got a ton of water storage and a natural spring. So this has got everything you need for a little mountain getaway with your family and friends.
Sounds like a nice summer place. Someone was looking for that.
Yep,
Okay.
off-grid.
Well, thank you for that. Sounds like something that people might want to check out.
Yeah, contact Hyperion Humboldt Realty. Any of our agents at the company can arrange a showing for you so you can walk through. There's also a timber harvest plan. It is 300 acres, so lots of beautiful trees to enjoy or potentially supplement some income and offset any property taxes.
Thank you so much for joining us. Again, I'm Ben Larson with Larson Home Loans.
And I'm Annalise von Borstel, Hyperion Humboldt Realty.
And this has been the Independence Day broadcast of the Redwood Real Estate Report. You can find us on YouTube, Podbean, hopefully coming to more platforms soon. Still working on that, but thank you so much for joining us once again.